The biggest mistake I made in my business was not hiring a professional to help me with my money. Not just my taxes, but the actual plan I had for my business. I was completely lost on how to handle taxes, what to do with profit, and how to maintain my income. I had to find a better way. That's when I found Core Financial. Core Financial is a team of tax professionals that actually care about building real relationships with their clients. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all of my tax benefits. Are you struggling with your finances? Look no further. Core Financial is a brand that is nationwide that can help you with your business. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core, and they can help you too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to schedule a consultation today. Core Financial, real relationships, no surprises. It seems like there are new cameras and equipment coming out all the time. It gets incredibly confusing and the FOMO is real. Nick and I have been preaching for years that the best way to try out new gear is to rent before you buy. And there is only one place we recommend when it comes to renting, and that is our friends over at Lens Rentals. Lens Rentals is the premier source for renting not only camera equipment, but lenses, drones, projectors, and more. Have a big project coming up and you need to really wow your couple? Wanting to test out the newest camera before you drop thousands on it? You need Lens Rentals. My favorite thing is that if I love something I rent, I can keep it. They apply a portion of the rental fee to the purchase price, and with a few simple clicks, that gear is mine. Check out the latest promo codes and promotions at howtofilmweddings.com/lensrentals. Lens Rentals, the only place we recommend renting.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. I'm Nick Miller. Across the screen somewhere from me is John Bunn. John, how are you today?
Nick, I'm good. How are you?
I'm
doing really well.
Yeah, me too. I've had a cold. I'm getting over the cold. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like 94%. That's probably where I'm at. 94, you know. I'm doing all right.
That's an A. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's an A. Today on the podcast, we have someone that I followed for a while. You've followed for a little bit. Her name is Ori of O.Ski Films. She's based in Denver, but I found out today she's also based in like Louisville or something like that, half the year, something like that. Anyway, she does incredible work. She has a great story. She's one of these kind of interesting people in our industry where she has her day job and she's happy to keep her day job, and she's still doing killer work, and she's charging what she wants to charge, partially because of her having a full-time job.
And you say charging what she wants to charge. She's charging what everyone wants to charge.
Yes,
it's actually been
definitely
pretty crazy to watch. She started her business in like 2016, but her starting rate's over $7,000 for her wedding films. She's already like 70% booked up for next year. She is getting incredible engagement on her Instagram and actually on her TikTok. We talk about that a little bit. There's a lot in this episode. And Nick, if you're okay with it, I say we jump on over to this week's episode. Yep. All right. Well, welcome, Ori, to the How to Film Weddings podcast. Why don't you just get right into it? Who are you? Where are you from? Give us some of your story and how you got going.
Well, yeah, I guess a little intro on my end. This kind of filming weddings kind of stumbled upon me by accident. I studied abroad in Cape Town, South Africa, my senior year, which I know, Nick, you're going to South Africa, aren't you?
I am. I'm going to Cape Town next February.
I have all the recs. I'm so jealous.
I will need to hit you up about that stuff for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely life-changing. So I went there my senior year and I brought a GoPro, and I had no knowledge of filmmaking or editing or anything of the sense. It was just something that I wanted to bring along to document my travels. I come from like a super small town. I never had been out of the country until college. And so naturally, I just said I was gonna move to South Africa. I'm sure my parents were thrilled. But yeah, so I knew I had to document this trip. It was something I'd never seen before. I wanted to show my family, who likely would never see it either. And so I started making these weird little adventure videos that were like 40 minutes long of me hiking. I mean, everything that everyone wants to watch was on there.
Sure.
And I would upload them to Facebook, and they were far too long, had some cheesy music that I didn't have the rights to. But yeah, they were out there. And a family friend asked me after she saw these videos and I was home if I wanted to film her wedding. And it was just kind of caught me by surprise. Never even thought of weddings. Didn't even think that was in my wheelhouse. But I said yes. And I have a bone to pick with you guys because this was not a thing in 2016. So I couldn't refer to your videos or your podcast. So
I'm sorry. That's John and I talk about it all the time, that if we could do anything, we would invent a time machine and go back like 10 years.
I could have used
Never
it.
talked about that once.
No, we haven't. We haven't. So.
Not once. Yeah, I think I found like a BuzzFeed article that was like 10 things you need to do, or 10 things you need to rent to film a wedding. And I was like, all right, this is it. So I rented a bunch of weird equipment. None of it made any sense. If I could go back, I need to like find what I rented. It was pretty bad. But I filmed that wedding and I missed the bride going down the aisle. I cried. My computer like burnt out when I was editing. It was probably like the worst thing ever, but it was also the best thing ever at the same time. Like I had so much, it was so much pressure in my mind because I didn't even know what I was doing, but it also brought me so much joy at the end when the couple loved it, even though in my head I was like, wow, I really, really bombed this. But yeah, so then I filmed that wedding and then I ended up booking 10 the next year. I was basically like being like, hey, are you getting married? Like, can I pay you to do your wedding? So I was marketing myself pretty well. But yeah, I ended up booking 10 the next year and then it kind of just went up from there. But sorry, this is long-winded.
We're enjoying.
Keep going.
Continue.
Yeah, keep going.
But yeah, I was working in an ad agency at the time because I've worked full-time ever since I got out of college. I still work full-time, so
okay.
I'm kind of doing both at the moment. But at my ad agency, basically like the video director knew that I had interest in video, and she was like, oh, you should check out this couple. They do wedding videography. Their name's White and Reverie. And obviously not like being new to the industry, I didn't know who they were at the time. And I checked them out and I was like, holy cow, they are incredible. This is like unlike anything I've ever seen. So I ended up doing a mentor session with them. I think it was in 2017. And they ended up, I remember like going to that and being so nervous. And like, I felt like I was going on my first date. I was like practicing in the mirror. I was like, be cool, like act cool. Like they're the best of the best. And so I get there and we ended up having the best hour, and they like kind of ended up being some friends after that. I learned a lot from them, and it kind of inspired me to take it to the next level from that mentorship. And yeah, I'll never forget it. But it was a super nervous moment in my life because I was meeting like my idols, but they ended up being just normal people that are just really freaking good at what they do, but very kind. So yeah.
To be fair, I mean, I feel that way every time I see Kaylin and Christine, you know, like I'm going on a first date, you know, I want to look nice and be presentable, you know, and that kind of stuff too. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think she did glitch out.
Her internet. Yeah. So
sorry, are you guys hearing me?
10 weddings in on your second year. I'm hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Internet?
I think I glitched out when you talked about the
Lagging for
first
you,
date.
maybe?
It could.
Yeah, I did. It did. Because I said something funny and your face looked like this.
I swear I would have laughed.
Like-
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
Okay, because I
so
missed that.
So Nick made a joke. It was corny. If the edit's weird, that's
It
what
was
happened.
good.
And now we're going to move on to continuing. So you did this mentorship with Sir Kaylin and Christy, and you guys became buds. You had 10 weddings in your second year. I know when we were looking at your site and different things, like you're all the way up to now to charging a lot more. What's the progression been since you did those 10 weddings into where you are? Like what happened next after that year of 10 weddings?
Yeah, and along the year of filming those 10 weddings, I got to film some of Kaylin and Christine's like associate weddings with their associate. So I kind of learned how they shot and the process from ground up, which taught me a ton because when I first started, I would show up like 6 a.m. to start getting ready videos, and it was ridiculous. I was there for like 15 hours and I was filming a bunch of stuff that I would never use. Like I was like pretty much waking up the bridal party being like, all right, what are our outfits, people? Let's go. And so I went from shooting this entire thing and not knowing what to do with it to being able to watch how White and Reverie and their associate shot and figuring out that you don't have to shoot every single moment of the day to capture the most important. And so I think that helped me streamline my editing and my processing and, showing up a little later during the getting ready process and maybe not staying for the entire reception just because things can get a little hairy if there's an open bar. And you might not need all that footage. But yeah, I started just streamlining my process. And then I got a little bit better at marketing myself, posting on Instagram. It has been a little bit trickier for me to devote fully all my effort and energy to my business just because I do have my full-time job at the same time. And so that has been a struggle. But at the same time, I think it has also helped me be able to book the weddings at the price point that I want, just because I have that other income coming in. So it's definitely been a blessing and a curse at the same time. But yeah, I think I just started shooting as much as I could with the time that I had and being able to start saying yes and no to ones that really like fit my style and my interest. And then, yeah, here we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you go from this mentor session, you do still have a job, like today you even still have a job. What does today look like for you and your business? How many are you trying to shoot? And maybe fill in the listeners on sort of your price range, kind of maybe some average costs that you charge for your films.
Yeah, so current day, I still have my full-time job, which I'm super thankful for. I do enjoy it. It is super different from my films, so it's nice to have, that balance and then being able to create in my business. But yeah, this year for 2021, I have 10, which seems to be a little bit of a sweet spot for me. I could probably go up to 15 if I wanted to, but I do want to focus on the couples that I do have. And so 10 is kind of the spot where I think I can do it comfortably and be able to, put my full attention to them along with my job. And my price point currently starts at $7,200. And that's basically, I think it's 6 to 7 hour coverage. I include a 5 to 6 minute highlight film, and then I also deliver full ceremony and speeches to them separate from the highlight film just so they can have those as keepsakes. And then I always have a second shooter as well. So two filmmakers are included in that. But yeah, and then there's tons of add-ons that couples can kind of shop around and tailor my offerings to their day. So yeah.
7,200, you're 5 years into business. That's more than I start out. I've been in business 15 years. What do you attribute that to? Taking less weddings, your branding, your networking, what would you say to someone out there that wants to get to that point? What are some tips for them?
Yeah, and I don't know if I think definitely having my full-time job has allowed me to do that. Just because the couples that are reaching out to me typically these days are couples that know who I am. I'm not just like a vendor to kind of check off on their list. And so they are willing to pay that price point. But I think that, I think that being able to get to that price point has just been me kind of having that backbone of having a full-time job and proving what I can do with my filmmaking so that couples out there are like, we want her, and this is what she charges. And I don't know, I think that's a bad answer, but that's what I got.
I think another thing, so as I've, followed you for a while and, watched your work and stuff, you have a certain vibe, and it's like everything that you're posting, has this certain look and feel. Like your couples are, you definitely know who your ideal couple is. And I think by you still having your full-time job and then putting it at that price point, you're only taking 10 weddings. If this were your full-time job, you'd be like, oh, I can't, I have to do 20 or 20, you have to do more. And
Definitely.
so then I think you would have to take on clients or weddings or looks or something that isn't what you're really vibing on, what you really want to do. So
Yeah,
I think you're again, kind of that blessing and curse a little bit. You're able to only take the weddings that have that feel because of that job where you're like, I mean, I'd love to book this wedding, but if I don't book it, it doesn't hurt me. Like I'm still making money. So I'm sure that has helped that some.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And I think blessing and a curse is very accurate, just because, I mean, my site right now, I'm going through a rebrand and a resite, and I'm super excited to launch that because none of my 2020 weddings are even on my website, which is ridiculous on my part. But yeah, I think it's hard to get all my branding out there that I want to with the time that I have in my days. And so I think that it's been so awesome to be able to take what I want, but I also need to push a little bit harder on the end of like my branding end, just so people know kind of what I offer and everything based on finding me on the internet before they chat with me, just because I know there's a little bit of scarce information on my site right now. So yeah, definitely balancing the two. But
I think we talked to a lot of people that are like really pushing that they want to go full-time into wedding filmmaking, and for some people like full-time is actually a bad move for them. And the more I've realized that, I think the first time, like one of the times we interviewed David with Forestry, he just talked about like advice he would give his previous self would be like to get a job while he was building, so he didn't have to take on weddings that didn't fit. And I like the whole blessing and cursing, yes, but I think that in our world, people are always posting about like wanting to go full time and needing to go full time, and that's what you should do. And if you're a listener out there, like there's no rules. There's no like the fact that you have your job allows you to do your wedding video job better and allows you to take the right couples, and it's pushing your price way up. When I first got started, it was just, I'm going to take anybody with a pulse that is willing to pay me money and $1,500, I'll go work my tail off. And then I got way backlogged. And then it was just like this terrible 20 weddings behind kind of life I lived for like 5 or 6 years in the name of, oh, well, now I do this full time. And if I could give advice to myself, I would say, yes, it was cool that I went through that to learn and grow and get stronger. But I wish I would have kept the job even longer until it was just ridiculously stupid. Or like for some people, it's never a thing that you should always keep some kind of work. You get insurance with a job, you get all these things, and it allows you to be creative. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I think it's true. And I also think it's like you said, when I first started, I was like pretty much paying people to let me shoot their wedding. I was like on Facebook, people would get engaged. I'd be like, hey, you want to hire me to shoot it? Or like, I'll hire you to let me shoot it. Like, it was crazy, like all the scrambling I was doing, because I think like in 2016 also, like I didn't know tons about wedding videography. I think it was semi kind of new in the space. Like nowadays, I feel like there was always a videographer and a photographer. Obviously there's instances that that's not happening at some weddings. But back in the day, people were like, a wedding video, like can't my Uncle Jim do that? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, he can, but I can do it a little bit better, I think. So I was like kind of
just a little bit better, just a little bit,
a tad bit better. I don't know, maybe. But just like doing all those weddings at the very beginning, and not I loved them, and I'm super thankful for them for where I've gotten, but they weren't necessarily ones where I could feel creative or express what I saw in that day. And so now that I have couples that see my creativity through my work and are allowing me to have that freedom, I think that's super rewarding in itself, not having to take on all of them that maybe aren't letting me have that creativity that I want to have that day.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I'm excited to hear, kind of your progression. And, it seems like you're not like really interested at all in leaving your full-time job. Is that kind of your thing? Like you're like, I'm good with my setup right here, and I'm going to stick with this for a while. Is that kind of how you're feeling?
It's super unknown right now, I guess. A lot of my friends in the filmmaking industry are always like, why do you still have a job? Like they are always just like so blown away by that. And for me, I'm kind of just taking it year by year, because I don't exactly know where I'll be next year. I have like 7 booked next year, and it's kind of a rapid pace. So if I do start to book more than that, and I feel like I can make that jump, I might, but I haven't really thought that through. I'm just comfortable where I'm at, and getting to shoot what I can with the money that I'm making is just a comfortable spot for me, which I don't know if that's a good answer, but I don't know yet. To be determined, I guess.
I think that's actually really great, especially like if the plan, at a certain point it might become really crazy to not go there, but it would be a better decision for you to continue just to lean into the correct couples until you're forced to kind of part ways with full-time and move to something part-time, or if it's like, no, I'm really happy right here with 10 weddings. I'm just going to bump my prices to $9,200 to start. And you've built your brand, and you won't know what that is but you've already got 7 booked next year. If you want 10 of those, it's like, that's going to create some incredible scarcity for your brand. So people are like, oh my goodness, if we want Ori, we've got to like pay her now, get booked. And it's like a good stair step each year for you to be like, yeah, I'm charging, like you might take 10 and at 7,200 starting out and be like, well, I'm just going to raise it to 9,000. And if anybody wants to book, maybe I'll take the 11th one. If someone wants to pay me 9,000, like I'll do one more.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. And that's instead of the opposite where you're playing almost this defense. A lot of people get into weddings and then they're like, oh my goodness, I have to fill the schedule, like, or I'm not going to eat. And that's backwards from getting to a position of like, I'm so good and so high demand, and I have this job that's keeping me it keeps me in a place where I only take people I want, which helps me grow my brand even faster. And yes, you want to redo your site and you're in the middle of that, but there's this purity that comes from somebody that is selling you. Like when you talk to your couples, if you don't sell them, you're still going to eat. And there's a difference in that mindset when it comes to hiring. Like it's about your passion more so about your profit.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that the joy that I get, it's a really nice balance. Like I enjoy my job, my full-time job. But I don't go to bed at night, like thinking of things that I can do tomorrow that could be really exciting, like in my next client call for work. But I do go to bed after I edit a wedding or shoot a wedding, and I'm like so excited about it and I'm thinking about it. And so I think having that balance has been really nice for me, because I get excited, but I also have that kind of structure in my life that I'm getting everything I need and it's not too spread out, and I'm not too strung out at this moment. So yeah, I think I'm in a good spot at the moment.
I'm not even jealous at all, a little bit.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're in a good spot with, your full-time job, your film stuff, your work's incredible. You're charging a premium price that you want to charge. We have more things that we're going to talk to with Ori, and we will get into that right after this break.
Hi, it's Michael from Wedditor. We want to thank everyone for the incredible support we've received since sponsoring How to Film Weddings. Yes, we've had some growing pains, but we've had far more wins. And we're doing something that's never been done. We're a remote team of over 50 editors in 10 countries. I often joke that we're as much a logistics company as we are a creative company. Right now, demand is off the charts. And we don't just say yes to everyone and scramble to figure it out. That's why we're asking you to help us help more of you. In short, we're looking for more talented Wedditors, part-time or full-time, work from where you want, when you want, as long as you hit deadlines and deliver quality. It's a chance to get paid while growing as an editor. Our project managers work with you, explaining why something feels right or doesn't, because there's always a reason. If you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. Go to wedditor.com/editor and fill out our form.
All right, we are back from break with Ori Swiatkowski. And if you ask her, that's actually her name with the two.
Fun fact.
Yeah, she just told us that in the break. Anyway, I'm sure that a lot of you out there listening have heard that Instagram recently, right, has said we are a video platform. Like, I don't know if anyone knows really what that means. I don't even know if they really know what that means. Like, stuff hasn't rolled out or whatever. But we're as video people, like it's one of those things that, we should just continually be putting out content. And now that they're a video first app, like maybe that'll be cool, maybe it won't. Anyway, that's not the discussion we're having here. But what I wanted to talk about, what?
I like sometimes how Nick gets going and he's just way over there and he's like, wait, I'm not going over there.
Well, I was bringing it back. I'm bringing it back.
Me giggle. I'm sorry.
I get what you're putting
It's
down.
cool. It's cool. It's cool. So, as far as we should all be creating, video content for the specific platforms, however, it is that we want to do that. And one thing that I see from your account and I see from you doing is you're putting together, really nice, really clean, really amazing, kind of social media, Instagram sort of type edits and stuff. So when it comes to those things and putting those together, why don't you kind of walk us through your process in putting together a social media edit? Are you thinking about certain things? Are there's things that you're definitely wanting to include? Are you, as you're filming, are you thinking of the social media edit? Kind of what's your process for that?
Yeah, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. So I would say on wedding days, I walk into it and I am thinking about the social media edits just because I think it's a fun way to show my viewers a glimpse of the day without having them have to watch the 6-minute video, which I know that I'll watch those 6-minute videos a million times, but not everyone else wants to sit through someone else that they don't know all the time, obviously. So I'll walk into the day, and whether it's like killer details and tablescape that draws my eye, or it's a dance party at the reception, or something special about that moment, I'll make sure I film a ton of footage of that one scene so that I can plan on making an Instagram edit that has some like back to it. I know that some of my second filmmakers are like, do you really need all this footage? Like my friend Becca in a block, she'll always be like, Ori, you don't need to take that many clips of the same thing. And I'm like, yes, I do. I have to make a social media edit. She makes fun of me, which is kind of ridiculous because I take a lot of footage of the one moment that I want to feature, but it just makes sure that I can have enough footage to make that edit and kind of have it highlight that moment of the day. But yeah, those are super enjoyable for me. I usually make some for every wedding I shoot. And they're all super different. Like maybe that's an awesome first look, or the dance floor was getting down, or some epic drone footage. But yeah, it changes from every wedding, but I think it's a super special way to kind of pull in the day without having to sit through a longer edit of people that you might not know. But yeah,
so
I enjoy them.
I'm sitting here looking on my screen at your Instagram account, and I think it's really interesting because I see sometimes when people have a ton of followers but no engagement on their posts, and like hearing you talk about doing these special edits and stuff like that. So you have 4,100 plus people that follow you as of recording. But when I go scroll over your views and your interaction, it's like your recent videos are 3,000, views with 100 comments, or a photo is like 600 likes and 15, which is a very high interaction rate compared to the number of people that follow you, which means that you have a really devoted following of people, and that your videos and photos are very great on the explore page. So are you doing anything or thinking about like what has that been? Are you trying to think like what's going to show up? Have you seen certain things like really hit with certain videos or photos? Like what's your advice for someone? Like, is the number next to your name as important as like the engagement? Give me some deets.
Yeah, and I would say when I make a social media edit, my first thought is like, what are people gonna like? Are they gonna like this fun, upbeat party scene? And I've found that things that people can relate to are usually what I get the most engagement. So I think I posted like a photo of me filming a Utah elopement. It's like my last post on my Instagram, and I'm wearing like the most ridiculous outfit because it was pretty cold out there. I have like a huge sweatshirt on and like Reeboks, and it just doesn't look very professional. But I think like my friends think like, or my followers think it's funny. Like I'm relatable. Like I'm not always gonna look buttoned up on wedding days. Or I posted like this edit that was like it was like a Jewish wedding that they were up on. It was the hora, and they were up on the chairs, and it was really awesome. And I think her family and friends like shared it with everyone. So it kind of just depends. I like to think about like what are people going to relate to though, like when I'm posting things, just because it's not going to all be like the perfect moment, but it's definitely all going to be semi-relatable and eye-catching and hopefully engaging. But yeah, I put up a TikTok a couple weeks ago of the couple that I filmed in Utah, and I said that we were on Mars, And maybe that's the ticket to going viral, because it went viral. People were pissed. They were like, this girl's lying. She's not on Mars. But it got like 3 million views. So maybe we should all just say we're on Mars.
You weren't on Mars. 3 million? 3 million views? I'm just going to type Mars into my next post here.
Yeah, just say you're on Mars. I think that's the top tip that everyone should take from that.
That's good. That's the top thing for sure.
So whenever you're putting these edits together, what's your time frame for it? Or is this like you're trying to do this like, the week after the wedding, or is this just sometime before you deliver the final film? Is it kind of at delivery of final film? So what's your process for that?
Yeah, so my social media edits, my turnaround is like, for the sake of just keeping me safe in case I have other things going on, I say 2 weeks. But typically, like obviously this is not promised to my clients, but I usually get it done the day after, which is crazy. I'm just psycho and I have to like dive into it right away. And all my friends make fun of me because they're like, how are you editing this the night after you shoot it? But I just get really excited and amped up on it and I want to go through it. I kind of geek out about it. So I usually have something to the couple the day after or 2 days after. But obviously for buffer purposes, I say 2 weeks, just in case I have a couple things going on and I can't get to it. Don't want to overly promise. But yeah, I get really excited to pull out those special moments. And so my turnaround time is quite speedy, I guess.
Yeah, I think that matters a lot. Like just, in the times that like when I will produce some type of a teaser or something within a few days of the wedding and post it, like the interaction is through the roof as opposed to even just a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
So that's huge, I'm sure. I did watch just now on TikTok your film on Mars. I will say it does kind of look like it's on Mars.
I know, but I remember I like put it to bed. I was like, first wedding on Mars. And then I went to bed and I woke up and I was like, oh no. And people were like, she couldn't breathe. There's no way. Where's the air? Like, I think she's lying. And I was like, oh no. So anyways.
On Mars too, so that'd be great.
I know they were like, I'm not getting married on Mars. That's dumb. Like, it's pretty funny. If you're bored, go read the comments because it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That is really cool. So social media, teasers, that kind of stuff and focusing in, I like that tip that you were, especially when you have your mind wrapped around, hey, this is the thing I'm going to do, that you go into the wedding day and you're looking for that thing, whatever it's going to be. And so you haven't decided, it's like every wedding, it's going to be the first look, right? You're like every wedding, it's going to be something different. It might be something, ridiculous or funny or sweet or whatever. But I like that you're being intentional about you taking more footage and more time to capture that thing so that you can create this specific edit. And, it's nice that you have a second shooter there so they can go do something else or cover some stuff while you're spending maybe 10 or 15 more minutes, capturing all that footage. So how did you come up with that idea to be intentional to, film that way on a wedding day?
Yeah, I think that my favorite thing to do is make the little edits, the fun little edits. I think that I enjoy it a lot more than my full wedding edits. I love doing my full wedding edits, but the short ones are just something that brings me a little bit more joy and it's fun for me. And there's nothing worse than like coming back to your computer after a wedding and having like this insane tablescape and trying to make an edit and then you like just miss the mark, like you didn't get what you needed to get. And so I've had that happen a couple times where I'm like, oh, this would be such a cool video if I just would have like continued this Ronin shot like 5 more seconds or like got a little bit closer and so I could get all of the details wrapped into one. So I think that failing at making the edits made me kind of focus in on those moments just because I would hate coming home and like editing and not having enough to make something that's worthwhile to post on like social. But yeah, I think that once I get to the day though, is when I decide kind of what the vibe is. And then from there on, I just feel like you can kind of tell what the highlighted moments are. And then you just shoot as much as you can to make sure you have everything once you get home. But yeah, I would say coming home and not having enough has just trained me to get more than enough of those moments.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I've been there in the final edit whenever I need some B-roll to cover something up, and I'm like, I don't have it. So yeah, I like that idea. Yeah. I like that idea about being intentional with that time and making for something for them. Obviously it helps, you and your platform, and grow your brand and all that kind of stuff. But it's, you're doing it for this special thing for the couple, so they can have something and remember this epic or fun or funny or whatever it is moment in time. So
yeah, definitely.
As I followed you for a couple years on Instagram and stuff, I know that it seems like you have a pretty close knit friendships with lots of other videographers and photographers, especially in the Denver area and stuff. And I've seen you like take trips and go all these places with other people. So why don't you just touch for a minute on the importance of building those relationships and having those people within the industry and how it has really affected you and affected your business?
Yeah, I think to start off, when I first got into this, I didn't know anyone in the industry. And that was tricky and a little bit tough because even if you have that side off question like, hey, what frame rate am I supposed to be shooting in if I do this? Or something like that you can just chat with through another filmmaker. That was super interesting to go through, not like really knowing anyone. And so after I met White and Reverie, Christine started having kind of like filmmaker meetups. And so I met like Katie from Blink Films, and it kind of just spiraled from there. And being around people that do the same thing as me just brought me so much joy. I think that I have a ton of friends that don't do this, which I love them equally. But it has been super nice to have these filmmaker meetups and be able to like talk shop with everyone and hear about their process in depth and how different it might be from mine. But yeah, I think it's super important to maintain relationships, not only for the networking aspect, but just it's so awesome to have friends in the filmmaking industry that I can like call them up and tell them about this funny story that happened to me that only they would understand, like not my friends that don't film weddings. It's just nice to have that bond with friends, and not only can you have that bond, but you can do some pretty cool stuff along the way. Like me and Becca and Grace Gatto, I know you just shot with her. We did that Utah elopement, and it was like, it brought me just so much joy. And that was something that we planned because it was a passion project. And it's pretty cool to be able to plan stuff with your friends that, can also film with you and just have fun along the way. So yeah, it's been a blessing that I've been able to meet so many people in the Denver area, and I'd love to meet people all over. I think that's a pretty special part of this job is how close this industry is. And so, yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know, speaking for me personally, my business has drastically changed and drastically improved just from meeting John and Blake, our editor, and getting, building those relationships and what that has done for, just the friendship, but, talking business and how to do things. And, I feel like I'm definitely a better businessman today because of my relationship with John. I like to think that John's better at doing other stuff because of me,
It's true.
Yeah,
of course.
That's true.
Yeah. So
a little bit.
So yeah. So it's cool to hear that, and I'm glad that you found that group. And listener out there, if you're new to the industry, or maybe you're just kind of a lone hermit where you kind of do your thing by yourself, there is really reach out to people in your community now, especially that the world seems to be opening up again and all that kind of stuff. Like, reach out to people in your area and build those relationships so that you can not only have like a referral network, but you can also have people just to encourage you and help you all along, and be a positive, healthy kind of competition between people in your area. John?
And I would just tack onto that like more is caught than taught. And so the more that you can be just around people that you admire, or do things like what Ori, like, if you admire a wedding filmmaker, like the industry, the more I have met more and more of the influencers in our industry, the more I realize that they're really cool people. And a lot of them offer mentorships. I know Nick and I offer mentorships, and we've done, I've done mentorships with people, and they've done, I really admire Peyton Byford and what she's done with Instagram. She's a photographer, and she's, pushing 100,000 followers. And so a couple years ago, I just was like, I know you're newer in business, but I'm paying you for a mentor session. And I hung out with her for a day and learned a bunch. And I'm always learning. And I just think that a lot of people are very afraid to ask questions, and I didn't ask people questions till like 6 or 7 years in business, and I can only imagine where I would be if I would have done that. And so I wanted to ask you before we had to break, just like you reached out to Christine and Kaylin and you did something with them, how important has like furthering education, listening to podcasts, reading, but whatever it is, like what do you do and how important has that been for you growing your business?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. Like I said, I went to college for marketing. Hindsight, if I could go back and go to school for filmmaking or anything that would have helped me in this career, that would have been awesome, but I didn't. And so everything I've learned has been online. Listening to podcasts, I attended Venture a couple days. I had to work, so I couldn't go to the full thing. But just sitting in on a couple classes and learning from the best that are out there, that's like the main focus of how I learned how to do everything that I know how to do is YouTube, podcasts, other people. I would say I wouldn't be where I am today at all or anywhere without that education. So I think this platform that you guys are offering is incredible, and it's such a special knit community that you have created. There's not one person in the wedding filmmaking industry that doesn't know how to film weddings is. So thank you both for really for providing this platform for people to speak and meet others, because it's been super special, I think, for me and everyone else.
Oh,
Thank you.
Nick. Man, that's
Yeah.
not what I was asking, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
You're awesome.
I guess learning online, everything, that's how I've learned everything that I know. So yeah.
Yeah, it is such a nice time for us to be alive today in that sense that you can go find, the resources. When I started, there were a few things out there when I started in 2012, 2013, but back when John started, I don't know, was the internet even around back then?
Stone Age.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was
yeah.
me
So-
and a couple of dinosaurs.
Yeah. So, it's good for that, to have the education and stuff. And, we have a couple more things that we're going to talk about. We are going to do that right after this break.
Finding the perfect song for your wedding film can be so frustrating. We spend countless hours searching for the perfect song. When it comes to licensing music, Nick and I both love MusicBed. Not only do they have the best music, but their website makes it so easy to find the perfect song and to find it fast. We have both been using the MusicBed's wedding subscription for years and cannot recommend it enough. Not only are they adding new music from incredible musicians like Chapters, The Light, The Heat, and Tony Anderson all the time, they've made it incredibly easy to search their library for mood, genre, instrumentation, and even key. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed and use promo code HTFW for a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription. howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed.
And we are back from break. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into our Wedditor question of the day. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. Definitely check them out. They're looking for editors right now. Wedditor.com/editor. If you want to edit for them, just check them out. Anyway, that would be very neat. Okay, Ori, one thing that I want to touch on before we close up is you have this look and this feel about your videos, and I think that one of the things that I'm just going to guess that has really helped inspire you and stay inspired when it comes to your wedding films is also doing personal stuff and passion projects and that kind of thing. So why don't you take a little bit of time and talk about doing some passion projects, kind of what have those been, and then how have those bled over into your wedding work and your wedding filmmaking?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I just did my first big passion project this year with a little downtime. Basically, me and a couple other filmmakers, we filmed some dancers dancing with fabric and moving in a studio space. And then we also mirrored that movement with stuff that they do in their life to keep them going, just to signify, it doesn't matter what it looks like, you just got to keep moving. And that was it brought me so much joy. I think when I exported it, I actually started crying, and I'm not an emotional human, not too emotional, but it was just something that I saw from the beginning, and I didn't exactly know how to explain to people what I was doing until I could just show them. And that was something that I can't wait to do another passion project because it brought me just so much joy. But I think that those projects show couples or maybe future clients that I can do shots that aren't just couple shots or ceremony shots. I can follow someone playing soccer or have a runner run down the road. It was just film a dancer that is doing ballerina. Like it just showed a lot of capabilities that you might not be able to showcase in your wedding films, I guess. But yeah, I can't wait to do another one that was it just fulfilled me so much, and I have never really felt that before. So I'm lucky that I got to work on that with other creatives and see artists dance and move and show their artistry within mine. So
yeah, I think that's really cool. And I think that a lot of times, almost everyone that you talk to, you know, they have an idea for something, right? They're like, oh, I just want to do this. I know, you know, John has aspirations of maybe writing a book someday. And, you know, we actually, when we went out to Arizona a few months ago, we met with Jay Worsley, and he was like talking to us about these like film scripts that he's putting together, and like just, and it was like, but a lot of people are like, well, there's just not a good time to do it. You know, like I want to do that. And whenever we were talking with Jay, and I don't know if this is kind of how it worked with your project, Ori, but he was like, man, if you have an idea, just like start doing it, like start working on it, start planning on it. And then he was also like, you know what? He was like, I actually started writing this script for this thing. It was like 4 years ago. And so, you know, it took him, and he's like, we have this thing is like, oh, if I'm going to do this project, you know, I have to start it today and I have to get it done in, you know, a week or 2 months. Like sometimes just getting started and then working on it over time as you evolve and find time and stuff is a great way to do that. And then it's, you know, one of those things that takes you out of your norm. So it you know, lights a fire in with you so that you can, you know, be excited to work on something. And that's one of the positive roles of a passion project, is that it can excite you to continue to do something. So yeah, just wanted to share that tidbit to anyone. If they're like, oh, I have something that I want to do, but you know, I just don't have time, or I'll never get it done or whatever. Just get it started. Just get going.
Yeah. And I think also it's important to understand that your vision that you have at the beginning might not be what it ends up being. But I think that's the beauty of it.
The thing that stood out to me is like, I think a lot of people leave no margin in their lives. They fill themselves up. They're so busy that they're overrun, overworked. They have too many weddings. They're not excited. They burn out, and they don't leave margin to be creative. Whether that's creative in your business, drawing, writing, walking, thinking, whatever it is, there's no margin. And that's kind of in America what we're taught, is to like be busy, and to be so busy that, you know, it's like a badge of honor. You know, it's like, oh, I'm busy, and like, oh, you've been busy? And it's like every time when someone's like, have you been busy? And I'm like, no. They look at me like I failed in my life or something. I'm like, no, I'm spending a lot of time just thinking or whatever. And that's kind of, to me, what like a passion project or just leaving that margin so you can get inspired after a wedding and stay up all night and edit something for social, or you can just lean into a vibe that you want or whatever. But a lot of people just spend their whole life like chasing busyness instead of like what they're passionate about doing. And so like forcing yourself, putting it on the calendar. Like when we went to Arizona last month, it was like we put dude trip on the calendar so we could just go and unplug and be like, we're going to build this into our life, because lives are busy when you have kids or spouses, or you're dating and jobs and stuff. And so like, if you don't do that, if you're not putting things like that on your calendar, like trip to Utah, just gonna go shoot, now the trip's on the calendar. Oh, let's find some people that want to elope. Let's just do it. Let's go. Instead of just thinking about it for so long, but like putting pen to paper, leaving that margin in your life. That's what I was picking up while you were putting down what you did, while I was untangling it while listening to Nick talk about a 30 for 30 on ESPN.
It's on my list to watch. But yeah, I think leaving. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's called Icarus.
No, please don't let Nick talk anymore.
Dude, it was so good.
Oh,
sorry. Okay.
No, I just think leaving space for things that excite you and allow you to create is super important. So I'm gonna go too.
You have to watch on YouTube.
Well, Ori, it has been so great to have you on the podcast today. If there are people out there that don't know you, don't follow you, where can they follow you on the internet?
Yeah, my website is currently under construction, so I apologize for that, but oskifilms.com and my Instagram at oskifilms are the two most accessible places, and I'll have a YouTube channel soon. Stay tuned. It's coming. It's coming.
And if you want to see her Mars video, follow her on TikTok. Don't forget the TikTok.
There we go. I'll meet you there.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today, Ori. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I can't thank you enough. This has been wonderful. I appreciate you guys.
All right, Ori, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate you taking the time. John, I don't know if you know this, but we have a website. It is howtofilmweddings.com. And at howtofilmweddings.com/store, you can pick up our posing guide. This is a guide where it's 20 of our favorite poses. It's a video walkthrough where we show you what we're doing. It also comes with a downloadable PDF so you can take it with you on the wedding day for quick access to remind you of what you should be doing during couple time. That is our posing guide at howtofilmweddings.com/store. John, as always, it's been great to hang out with you. Ori, thank you again. Listeners, until next time, we will see ya.
See ya. Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay-per-project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/wedflow to check out WedFlow today.